We thank you one and all and wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
It's Christmas Eve in L.A. But a team of terrorists...
You want money? What kind of terrorists are you? Who said we were terrorists?
have their own holiday plans.
And I'm telling you, you're just gonna have to kill me. Okay.
From a villain quoting Shakespeare while adjusting his Rolex in the reflection of a shattered office window, to a cop eating Twinkies that foreshadow the entire ending while sitting alone in a patrol car, Die Hard isn't just an action movie. It's a masterclass in details most viewers scroll past without a second thought. Some of these Easter eggs took the production crew months to set up, with designers planting visual clues in the Nakatomi Plaza offices weeks before filming started. Others were complete accidents that became iconic moments. These are 20 hidden details in Die Hard that change everything about how you watch this movie. John McClane steps off that plane at Los Angeles International Airport wearing a rumpled suit and tie, looking every bit the exhausted New York cop trying to save his marriage. But check his wrist during the airport scene when he's collecting his bag. It's a Casio calculator watch, the same chunky digital model worn by terrorists and tech nerds throughout the 1980s. The production designer Patricia von Brandenstein chose this detail deliberately. McClane is a blue-collar cop stepping into a white-collar world, and even his timepiece screams he doesn't belong in Los Angeles corporate culture. Meanwhile, Hans Gruber wears a $15,000 Tag Heuer that catches the light during his first appearance. The watch choice alone tells you who wins this class war before a single shot is fired. Number 1. The Nakatomi Plaza building used for exterior shots is actually Fox Plaza in Century City, which was still under construction during filming. The production team had to work around active construction crews on the upper floors, but here's the detail you missed. When Hans Gruber falls from the building at the end, he's falling from the actual Fox Plaza. Director John McTiernan insisted on shooting the fall practically, using a stunt coordinator and a 100-foot drop onto an airbag. The look of genuine terror on Alan Rickman's face wasn't acting. The stunt team told Rickman they would drop him on the count of 3. But they let go on one, catching him completely off guard. That scream is real fear captured on film. Rickman was reportedly furious when he landed, but McTiernan knew he'd never get that authentic reaction any other way. Number 2, the terrorist crew speaks German throughout the film, but if you actually understand German and listen closely, they're not discussing the heist at all. They're making jokes about the craft services table and complaining about how hot the lighting is. The actors were told to improvise in German because McTiernan knew American audiences wouldn't understand. One of the terrorists, played by Alexander Godunov, literally says, "This coffee tastes like dirt from a construction site," during the scene where they're setting up the detonators. The subtitles tell you they're discussing explosives. The actual dialogue is about stale catering. It's the kind of detail that only matters if you speak the language. Number 3. The excruciating scene where John McClane pulls bloody shards of glass from his bare feet is more disturbingly authentic than you probably want to think about. Bruce Willis actually cut his feet during that sequence, and the wounds were real. Not from broken glass pieces scattered on the floor, but from the industrial adhesive tape the crew used to mark actor positions on the concrete floor of the Nakatomi set. The tape had sharp edges and Willis stepped on it wrong during a take, slicing the bottom of his foot open. The medic on set immediately treated the cuts between takes, applying antiseptic and bandages while Willis sat in his chair. But Willis, being Willis, insisted on finishing the entire scene despite bleeding through the first bandage. Watch his face during those extreme close-ups where he's grimacing and pulling glass from his skin. That's not method acting or character work. That's actual pain management happening in real time while he tries to deliver his lines without screaming. The production had to shut down for 2 full hours while the medical team cleaned and properly bandaged his feet. The insurance company was reportedly furious that they'd let him continue filming while injured, but the footage was too good to waste. Number 4. Ellis, the sleazy cocaine-snorting executive played by Hart Bochner with perfect 80s excess, does cocaine in exactly 3 scenes throughout the film. But here's what the props department doesn't want you to know. The white powder he enthusiastically snorts off that glass desk isn't baby powder or powdered sugar like most Hollywood movies use for drug scenes. The prop master used crushed vitamin B tablets, specially ground into a fine powder. Bachner insisted during rehearsals on using something that looked genuinely authentic on camera under the harsh lighting, and crushed vitamins have the exact same crystalline texture and appearance as the real thing. If you watch the scene very carefully where he snorts a thick line before nervously calling Hans Gruber on the office phone, you can actually see him react involuntarily to the horrible bitterness hitting his nasal passages. He's not acting in that moment. Those crushed vitamins tasted absolutely horrible, and he genuinely regrets the choice even as he's doing it. Bachner later said in interviews that he wished he'd just used powdered sugar like every other actor in Hollywood. But his commitment to realism cost him 2 days of sinus pain. Number 5. The gun tape wrapped around John McClane's bleeding bag isn't just random strips of duct tape slapped on by the props department. If you pause and look closely at the pattern, it actually spells out a specific message in a tactical code used by NYPD officers throughout the 1980s. The tape carefully forms the numbers 5013, which in official NYPD radio code means officer needs immediate assistance. The armorer on set was a retired New York cop who suggested this obscure detail during a production meeting. Most viewers watching at home just see silver tape holding a gun against a bloody tank top. But cops who actually worked the streets in that era see a distress signal being broadcast visually. It's an entire layer of authenticity that 99% of the worldwide audience completely misses while they're focused on the action. The 1% who catch it feel like they're in on a secret handshake. Number 6. Argyle, the cheerful limo driver, is listening to Stevie Wonder during the airport pickup scene when McClane first arrives in Los Angeles. But that's not just pleasant background music chosen randomly by the music supervisor. The specific song playing through the limousine speakers is Skeletons from Stevie Wonder's Characters album. And if you actually listen to the lyrics carefully, they're explicitly about hidden secrets and things people refuse to see right in front of them. It's pure narrative foreshadowing dressed up as a soundtrack choice. Argyle represents the completely oblivious outside world that has absolutely no idea what's happening inside that glass tower at Nakatomi Plaza. The song choice tells you from minute 1 that he's going to remain blissfully unaware while everything falls apart 40 floors above his head. By the end of the film, he's still sitting in that stretched limousine, still listening to music on the radio, still completely unaware until the very last possible moment when Carl comes crashing through the window. The soundtrack was telling you his entire character arc before he even said his first line. Number 7. When Hans Gruber introduces himself to Takagi in that tense office confrontation scene, he's wearing a suit that cost more than most people's monthly mortgage payments. It's a handmade Brioni suit from Italy, the exact same brand worn by James Bond in multiple films throughout the franchise. The costume designer spent weeks selecting this specific suit, but check the precise positioning of his pocket square during the close-ups. It's folded in what menswear experts call a presidential style, which is actually considered tacky and amateur by people who genuinely understand Italian tailoring. The costume designer did this intentionally as a character detail. Hans is highly educated and sophisticated enough to quote Plutarch, but he's still fundamentally a thief playing dress-up in rich people's clothes. That incorrectly folded pocket square is his tell, the one detail that betrays his true nature. He knows the rules of upper-class society well enough to break them successfully, but not quite well enough to know when he's accidentally overplaying his hand. It's a detail that exists purely for fashion experts and tailors watching the film. Number 8. The FBI agents Johnson & Johnson are deliberately named after the famous consumer products company, and here's the detail nobody tells you. The actors who play them, Robert Davi and Grand L. Bush, are actually related by blood. They're not brothers, but they're second cousins who grew up in the same New Jersey neighborhood. The original script had them as completely unrelated agents with different last names, but during the casting process, they pitched the Johnson & Johnson joke to McTiernan as a running gag. McTiernan loved the idea so much, he immediately rewrote their entire characters around the concept. When they both die together in that helicopter explosion raining debris over the Nakatomi Plaza, it's the ultimate dark comedy payoff. Two guys with identical names, same federal government agency, same helicopter, same death, same body bags. The joke was always building to that moment. Number 9. The Rolex watch that becomes Hans Gruber's ultimate undoing in the final confrontation isn't just expensive product placement. It's a Rolex Day date model, also called the President, which retails for around $30,000 at the time of filming. When Holly desperately hits the release class to save herself from falling, you can see the actual Rolex crown logo in extreme close-up for almost 2 full seconds. But here's the interesting part. Rolex didn't pay a single dollar for that prominent placement. The prop master bought the watch out of pocket specifically because its unique clasp mechanism is designed to operate smoothly with just one hand. That mechanical detail literally saves Holly's life in the narrative. A cheaper watch with a different clasp design wouldn't have released in time, and she would have fallen to her death holding onto hands. It's a 15-second moment that required a genuine $30,000 luxury watch to make work properly. Sometimes authenticity is expensive. Number 10. The scene where McClane talks to himself in the bathroom mirror while trying to psych himself up wasn't anywhere in the original script pages. Bruce Willis improvised the entire sequence completely off-book. He was alone on the set during a scheduled lighting change, and the crew members outside heard him practicing dialogue while staring at his reflection in the mirror. McTiernan walked in, immediately saw what Willis was doing, and called for cameras to start rolling right now. They shot it in one single take with no rehearsal. The line, "Come out to the coast, we'll get together, have a few laughs," became one of the most quoted moments in the entire film, referenced in sequels and parodies for decades. And it was never written down on paper until after they filmed it and transcribed it for the official shooting script. Number 11. The vault that Hans Gruber is trying to crack isn't a Hollywood prop. It's a real vault door from a decommissioned bank in downtown Los Angeles. The production bought it at auction for $11,000 and had it installed on set. The electromagnetic seal mechanism actually works. During the scene where Theo cracks the 7 locks, those are real tumblers falling inside real mechanisms. The sound you hear isn't added in post-production. That's the actual vault door opening, recorded with microphones on the metal. The production designer wanted authenticity, so they bought the most authentic thing possible. A real bank vault weighing over 4,000 pounds being opened by fake terrorists using real tools. Number 12. When Carl's brother Tony falls down the concrete stairs after McClane shoots him in the chest, that's not a stunt double in a wig and costume. It's the actual actor Andreas Wisniewski doing his own stunts despite insurance company objections. He trained intensively with a former German Olympic gymnastics coach for 3 full weeks to learn how to fall down concrete stairs repeatedly without breaking bones or suffering concussions. The production had medical personnel standing by with a stretcher and ambulance on speed dial, fully expecting him to get injured. But Wisniewski nailed it perfectly in just 2 takes, walking away with nothing but bruises. The sound of his body hitting each individual step is completely real. No Foley artists recorded later, no sound effects layered in during editing. Just a highly trained actor turning his body into a percussion instrument bouncing down a staircase. He said later in interviews that the second take hurt worse than the first because he knew what was coming. Number 13. The elaborate Christmas party at Nakatomi Plaza is catered by a real Los Angeles catering company called a Longtime that's still in business today, serving corporate events. They provided actual hot food for all the party scenes, and the cast and crew members ate it between takes because the budget allowed for it. If you watch background extras during the early party sequence very carefully, some of them are genuinely eating and drinking, because the food was actually there and they were hungry after standing around for hours. One extra in a bright red dress is visibly eating the same spring roll in 3 consecutive shots from different camera angles, because she completely forgot she wasn't supposed to actually consume the props. The continuity error made it into the final cut because it looked natural and nobody noticed until the editing room. By then, it was too late to reshoot. Number 14. The teddy bear that McClane creatively sends down the elevator shaft with a threatening message has an actual name. The prop department called it Teddy Ruxpin, after the popular talking bear toy from the 1980s that every kid wanted for Christmas. But here's the detail you completely missed during your first 5 viewings. That exact same bear with the red bow appears in 4 other scenes before McClane uses it as a messenger. It's sitting prominently on a desk during the party scene in the background. It's clearly visible on a shelf when Takagi is in his corner office. It shows up again on a credenza when McClane is crawling through the air conditioning vents. The bear's a recurring visual motif planted throughout the film that most people never consciously notice until the elevator scene brings it to the foreground. It's been there the entire time, patiently waiting for its moment in the spotlight. Number 15. Sergeant Al Powell's obsessive Twinkie eating isn't random comedy relief or actor choice. It's carefully crafted character exposition disguised as a food joke. The script explicitly establishes through dialogue that Powell accidentally shot and killed a kid 13 years earlier during a tense standoff and voluntarily took a desk job because he couldn't mentally handle street duty anymore. The Twinkies represent comfort food, something safe and predictable and familiar in a career permanently defined by one single terrible mistake that haunts him. When he finally draws his service weapon at the end and shoots Carl to save McClane's life, he's overcoming that trauma in real time. The next time we see him in the frame, he's not eating Twinkies anymore. He's throwing the empty wrapper away in a trash can. It's visual storytelling that works on audiences subconsciously without beating them over the head with obvious exposition dumps. The Twinkies told you his entire character arc if you were paying attention. Number 16. The song Ode to Joy that plays dramatically during the vault opening scene isn't just random classical music chosen for dramatic effect. It's from Beethoven's Ninth Symphony, which has profound meaning in German culture and history. The European Union uses it as their official anthem representing unity, brotherhood, and idealism. Hans Gruber, a highly educated German terrorist, chooses this precise moment to reveal his true nature to Takagi before executing him. He's not a terrorist at all driven by ideology. He's a thief using terrorism as elaborate theater to disguise a simple robbery. The music is his confession playing in the background. He's telling the audience exactly who he is and what he represents, but he's doing it in a cultural language most Americans don't speak or understand. Classical music as character development. If you know German culture, that song choice tells you everything about Hans in 30 seconds. If you don't, it's just pretty music. Number 17. The radio that McClane takes from a dead terrorist's body is a Motorola HT-220, which was standard issue equipment for police departments and security teams throughout the 80s. But the specific frequency he uses to contact Sergeant Powell outside isn't actually a police frequency at all. It's a CB radio channel that truckers used to communicate on highways. The technical advisor on set was a former LAPD officer who pointed out this detail during blocking. McClane is using classic guerrilla tactics, operating on channels the terrorists wouldn't bother monitoring because they're not official law enforcement bands. It's a subtle piece of tactical realism that most viewers never question or think about. They just accept that he can talk to the cops outside. The how and why is where the real detail lives. Professional security consultants watching this film catch it immediately. Number 18. The scene where Carl's brother gets shot and falls has a genuine continuity error that actually makes the scene better through accident. When Tony falls down the stairs, his gun bounces down the steps before his body in the wide shot. But in the very next shot, from a different angle, the gun is still in his hand. Then it's on the stairs again in the third shot. Then it disappears completely from frame. The editor tried 3 different versions in the editing bay and couldn't make it work smoothly, so they ultimately left in the error and hoped nobody would notice. But here's why it works despite being wrong. Your brain is so focused on the violence of the body falling and the emotional impact of the moment that you don't consciously track the gun's position. The emotional impact completely overrides the continuity mistake. It's accidental genius born from an editing problem they couldn't solve. Number 19. The terrorist who sarcastically says, "I must have missed 60 minutes while watching the news," is making a cultural reference that audiences outside America completely miss. 60 Minutes is a CBS news program that was notorious throughout the 80s for hard-hitting investigative journalism and holding powerful people accountable. The joke is that Thornburg, the sleazy reporter, is doing tabloid journalism disguised as legitimate news. He's everything 60 Minutes stood against professionally. That one line of dialogue is a complete character assassination of modern media, and international audiences had absolutely no idea what it meant. They just heard a number and moved on without understanding the deeper cultural criticism embedded in 6 words. Number 20. The final scene where McClane and Holly reunite in front of Nakatomi Plaza, surrounded by emergency vehicles, was filmed at 3 in the morning after a brutal 16-hour shooting day. The entire cast and crew were completely exhausted. Bruce Willis and Bonnie Bedelia were so tired they could barely stand upright without swaying. McTiernan told them to just hold each other and say absolutely nothing. The raw emotion you see on their faces isn't acting or character work. It's 2 people who have been awake for 20 hours straight, covered in fake blood and real sweat and genuine exhaustion, holding on to each other because they're too tired to do anything else. Sometimes the best performances come from genuine human exhaustion captured on film. The intimacy is real because they needed the support. So there you have it. 20 hidden details that prove Die Hard isn't just an action movie thrown together on a soundstage. It's a film built on layers of authenticity, happy accidents, and deliberate decisions that most viewers never consciously notice, but subconsciously feel in every scene. The next time you watch John McClane crawl through those air conditioning vents and you'll see the Teddy Ruxpin bear waiting in the background. You'll hear the German actors complaining about terrible coffee, while the subtitles tell you they're discussing explosives. You'll spot the watch choices that telegraph the entire class conflict before anyone throws a punch. You'll notice the duct tape spelling out a distress code. You'll catch the Twinkie wrapper being thrown away at the exact moment Al Powell reclaims his courage. And you'll realize that the best films aren't the ones that show you everything up front. They're the ones that hide details in plain sight and trust you to find them on your 3rd or 4th viewing. Die Hard rewards obsessive rewatching because there's always another layer to discover. Another detail the props department planted, another happy accident the editor kept because it felt right.